Doctor Strange. You think you know how the world works? What if I told you the reality you know is one of many?
This doesn't make any sense.
Not everything does. Not everything has to. Through the mystic arts, we harness energy and shape reality. We travel great distances in an instant.
How do I get from here to there?
How did you become a doctor?
Study and practice, years of it.
Danny Rand. I've been away a long time.
Let's go. You don't belong here.
I'm Danny Rand. Guys, I just want to talk.
Hey! Welcome to Rand Enterprises.
I left here 10 years old in a jet with my parents. I became the lone survivor.
Danny Rand, back from the dead. Why's he waited this long to show up? How the hell did he learn martial arts?
Where'd you train?
Kunlun. My father instilled in me a love and respect for this company that has never faded. This is my home.
Rand is my company.
This city is no place for Danny Rand.
We put in practice and discipline, no giving up, no giving in.
Danny, what happened to you? Why are you really back here?
Some bad people have gotten on the inside. Criminals.
I know what they are, what they can do. To fight them, we need someone with special skills.
I've been training my whole life for this. This is my destiny. It's time.
I'm going with you.
No, you're not.
You need me.
The change is coming, Danny.
Become what you were meant to be. I am the Iron Fist.
The hell does that mean?
To the End Time Show for our channel, I'm Gerald. We'll be discussing Doctor Strange and Iron Fist, Luciferian warriors. Now, both Doctor Strange and Iron Fist, they're somewhat similar in regards to this one aspect. Both of them promote a lot of Eastern philosophy, and both of them obtain their powers through going to the east near the Himalayas, or in that region, that Tibet type region. Now, Doctor Strange has quote unquote black magic or occult powers, and Iron Fist, on the other hand, has his chi energy with his hands, which still in retrospect is through the occult. Now we see Marvel is really pushing their comics into the big screen. They're making these blockbuster movies, and also on the small screen of television. So, you know, Satan is very wise in this aspect that he is using the medium of entertainment to get across his agenda and his propaganda to desensitize people, number one, to the supernatural powers, also two, to prep them for the coming beast system. So we're going to explore in this expose both Iron Fist and Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange is also known as the Supreme Sorcerer, and his method or his powers of black magic is used to help protect the earth. And also too, when we look at Iron Fist receives his chi energy from the dragon. So if we look in the book of Revelation, it talks about the person or the spirit that would empower the Antichrist would be the dragon.
The Sorcerer Supreme, and wields black magic against the forces of evil.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we will be exploring the comic book origins of Dr. Stephen Strange. As with most comic book characters, there are often reimaginings and different versions to a character's past. We have chosen to primarily follow the storyline which unfolded in 1963's Strange Tales number 115, which was expanded upon in 1968's Doctor Strange number 169. Dr. Stephen Strange is a prominent and powerful crossover character within the Marvel Universe. However, before becoming a literal wizard, he was a figurative wizard with his hands as a surgeon. A superstar doctor, he credited his success to his rock-steady hands, which never shook or made mistakes while in the operating room. Despite his great skill, Strange was also kind of a dick, caring only for himself and turning down charity work in the pursuit of wealth.
Well, let me clarify the economics for you, Gina. Sensational patients bring recognition, recognition brings money, and money keeps Wellhaven's doors open. You should be thanking me.
On one fateful day, he drove off in his sports car to meet with a wealthy stockbroker, whom he believed could make him even richer. Not paying attention to the wet driving conditions, he lost control of his car and slid off of a cliff. Falling for what felt like an eternity, he finally landed beside his totaled car. With his body broken, he lay there finally understanding the anguish that others have felt, experiencing true pain for the first time. Awakening later in the hospital, the good doctor was informed that though his life had been saved, his career as a surgeon was over due to irreparable nerve damage to his hands.
I'll be lucky if I can open a door, let alone hold a scalpel.
Although he could have easily become a medical consultant, his ego couldn't handle having to assist others without receiving all of the glory himself. And so, Strange spent most of his amassed wealth on failed operations, trying desperately to restore what he had lost. His drive to recover his past life eventually led to him becoming a homeless drifter, shunned by his colleagues and friends alike. Then, one day, while sitting in a dockside bar, he overheard sailors speak of a legendary Chinese wizard and healer known as the Ancient One. Pawning the last of his possessions, Strange purchased a one-way trip to the Himalayas. There, he searched tirelessly before being caught in a terrible snowstorm. With nothing left to lose, he continued on upward until he happened upon a temple sitting on the mountainside. Upon entering, he was met by a shadowy figure standing over a pit of fire. Revealing himself to be the Ancient One, the figure told Strange that he was not worthy of help or pity. Enraged, Strange became aggressive, forcing the Ancient One to subdue him with a beam of weightlessness. Left in shock and awe, Strange was finally given shelter by the old wizard, who introduced him to his apprentice, Mordo. That night, after watching the raging snowstorm swirl outside, Strange happened upon Mordo casting a demonic spell with the intention of killing his master so that he could usurp his position and become the only remaining practitioner of black magic. Without thinking, Strange performed an uncharacteristically selfless act and attempted to warn the old wizard. However, Mordo was alerted to his presence and used a magic spell to cast a sheet of metal upon the crippled doctor's face. Just before Mordo could kill Strange, the Ancient One arrived and fought off his would-be assassin. Having unwittingly passed the wizard's test of unselfishness, Strange was chosen to become the aging wizard's new pupil. This was done in the hopes that Strange could one day stop Mordo, as well as any other threat to the world. After extensive training in the mystic arts, Strange emerged as a black magic master and was dubbed the Sorcerer Supreme. Having been reborn with a new purpose, drive, and energy, he returned home to New York, becoming a mystical consultant. Under that guise, he battled countless evils with his newfound powers, which included, but were not limited to, healing, telepathy, teleportation, astral projection, energy wielding, and the ability to produce items and force fields at will. In time, Strange crossed over to other comic book series, where he assisted other Marvel superheroes and even appeared alongside the Avengers.
To Origins, where we go deeper into your favorite comic book superhero and villains and how they got to where they are now. So today we're going to be continuing our examination of the characters that'll be featured in Netflix's Marvel television shows. So prepare yourself for the origin of Daniel Rand, also known as Iron Fist, the Living Weapon. We start our story with Wendell Rand, who once lived in the mystical city of Kunlun, which exists in another dimension separate from our reality. Wendell was the eldest son, and therefore the appropriate heir to the city of Kunlun. But sadly, Wendell was driven from the mystical city by his ambitious brother who desired to rule it himself. Wendell eventually arrived in the United States, where he became a successful businessman, and he married a woman named Heather, and she bore him the child named Daniel. who was then raised in New York City. However, Wendell wished to return to Kunlun, which would only appear on Earth every 10 years. So it was due to that he ventured to Tibet in search of the interdimensional nexus that would lead him back to Kunlun. He journeyed there with his wife and his 9-year-old son, and his business partner, Harold McKean. Of course, the journey would not be easy, and it was wrought with much peril. Attempting to venture into a snowy mountain pass, Daniel ended up toppling off of the mountain cliff, and it dragged both him and his parents down. While Daniel and his mother Heather were safe on a ledge, his father was dangling off the side of the cliff. His business partner Harold had a chance to help him, but he believed that this journey to be a fool's errand and saw this as an opportunity to take over Wendell's portion of their business. Instead of helping him, he pushed Wendell off the edge of the cliff, where he plunged to an icy death. Harold then offered to help Heather and Daniel, but knowing what he had done, they then ran off into the treacherous mountains alone to get away from the murderous businessman. What happened next continues the tragedy that makes up Daniel Rand's origin, as they spotted a suspension bridge that presumably would lead them to safety. It was then that a pack of ravenous wolves attacked the pair. Heather, being protected of her son Daniel, sacrificed her life to keep the wolves from harming her son, and he then ran across the bridge, leaving his mother there to die to the wolves. With his father and his mother dead, Daniel then was rescued by scouts from Kunlun, and they took him back to the mystical city to present him to the new ruler of the city, UT. While seeing that Daniel was full of rage and wanted vengeance upon the treacherous Harold, UT apprentices Daniel to Lei Kung, the thunderer in the ways of martial arts. Under the cruel tutelage of Lei Kung, young Daniel proved himself to be a prodigy of many martial arts, and he learned to master his chi. By the age of 16, he'd already shown incredible prowess in defeating foes that were much more accomplished than him. And with this rage burning brightly inside of him, he aspired to turn his fists into hardened weapons by plunging his hands into braziers of hot sand, gravel, and rock. His greatest test would eventually come at the age of 19, though, when he aspired to gain the title of the Iron Fist. This proved to be no easy task, because he would have to defeat an ancient, gigantic, fire-breathing serpent named Xiao Lu the Undying. Daniel then engaged Xiao Lu in an epic battle where he grappled with the serpent's body. But Xiao Lu had a scar on his chest that looked similar to a dragon, and as Daniel was grappling with him, that scar emblazoned itself upon young Daniel's chest. With that, he defeated the serpent, but there was a final task of reaching into the mystical brazier that contained the molten heart of Xiao Lu. Just like he did in training, Daniel fearlessly plunged his hands into the heart, granting him mystically superpowered fists. He had finally become the Iron Fist. This entire experience imbued Daniel with superhuman abilities that is usually depicted with glowing energy coming from his hands. With his transformation complete, he could now journey away from Kunlun, which had reappeared on Earth after 10 years of him training, so he could eventually gain vengeance on the man who had killed his father and forced his mother to sacrifice herself.
Go ahead and connect the dots with Doctor Strange and Iron Fist in relation to one of the premier occult philosophers and Freemason philosophers, Manley P Hogg. This is what he had to say. He said, when the Mason learns that the key to the warrior on the block is the proper application of the dynamo of living power, he has learned the mystery of his craft. The seething energies of Lucifer are in his hands, and before he may step upward, he must prove his ability to properly apply the energy. So when we're looking at Iron Fist using his chi energy, he is properly applying that energy. When we look at Doctor Strange, how he's endued with that occult magical arts within his hands and his practices, he's able to cast spells, call down principalities and all. This is all lining up what we will see the culmination, the book of Revelation, when we see both the Antichrist and the false prophet doing supernatural feats. And these type of movies and television programs and all, they're programming people to desensitize them to the demonic realm of the supernatural. So Hall definitely points out that the energy of Lucifer is within the hands of that occult practitioner. See how Doctor Strange and Iron Fist correlates in how people are slowly being indoctrinated with the soon coming beast system, where the Antichrist and the false prophet will be put in place, and they'll be operating in supernatural power with all types of lying signs and wonders. When we look at Revelation chapter 13 verses 2 through 4, it says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his head as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? So the son of perdition will be empowered by Satan himself, by the dragon. When we go back over to Revelation chapter 12 and we look at verse 9, it says, And the great dragon was thrown down, the serpent of old, the serpent that we see in the Garden of Eden that's speaking to Eve, grows in from being very subtle to being a bold dragon, speaking great blasphemies and moving in much more aggressive manner. Now, it says, And who deceives the whole world? He was thrown down to earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. So this will be the culmination in the latter times where Satan will empower the Antichrist. There will be heavy demonic spirits that will be empowering the false prophet. You will have all this demonic activity that's going on. You look at Doctor Strange, and he's called the supreme sorcerer. The book of Revelation talks about how the nations will be deceived through sorcery. So we see in the latter times a high rate of sorcery, and the occult arts will manifest himself. That will be the central key in the one world religion. So we have to be vigilant in these last and evil days to keep our minds on Jesus Christ and kind of like watch and monitor what we intake, what we watch, what we listen to make sure we keep our spiritual self in line with the Lord. And we have to be led and guided by the Holy Spirit.